Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What's Up Wednesday. My name is Rachel, and I am on the client support team here at Early Learning Ventures. And today I am joined by Wendy Spencer, founder of SkyRocket Reading, which is a powerful training program that helps parents, providers, and educators teach children to read using proven curriculum with a 40-year track record of success. Welcome, Wendy, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rachel. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. And thank you to everyone who is joining us live today as well. If you have not heard of Early Learning Ventures before, we are a 501c3 nonprofit based out of Colorado, and our mission is to expand access to quality and affordable childcare. I have links in the description of this video where you can head to our website and learn more about us and our resources offered, like our full What's Up Wednesday playlist, and where you can also learn more about our affordable childcare software solutions designed to help streamline your processes and free up your time to devote back to caring for children. Since we are live today, if you have any questions that come up while we are talking, please add them to the chat. And also, even if you just want to pop in and say hello, we always love to see that as well. All right, Wendy, so can you start us off by introducing yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. I am a lifelong educator. I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a teacher, and I jumped right into education, teaching second grade, which I loved. And then a little later, when my kids were a little older, I opened an education center here in California, which we had open for about 10 years. And that was so fun. Loved doing that. And then more recently, I started SkyRocket Reading a couple of years ago, taking over from the original author of the curriculum that we use. And so, yeah, that's a brief bio of me, but just so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited to learn more about SkyRocket Reading as well. Do you want to start us off by just telling us what inspired you to create SkyRocket Reading?
Yeah, so I trained in the curriculum that would later become SkyRocket Reading. I trained in it way back in 2000. I had never seen a more effective and clear, reliable way to teach children to read. And so it just was so exciting to me to learn it. And I loved seeing all of the light bulb moments, when it finally clicks for children when they get it. And over time, I realized that as much as I love teaching children, which I love teaching children, but I realized that, there are so many children that need to learn to read this way because it's so much simpler and more effective, that I knew that my impact could not reach all of the children that needed it unless I were to start training adults. So I have now, I decided to open SkyRocket Reading so that we can train the adults who need this so that they know how to do it to teach the children. So that's really what inspired me, was really just, being able to reach more children this way. So I started SkyRocket Reading in 2023, really to multiply the impact. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. And because of your experience with working directly with children, I'm sure that you really take that experience into then training the educators, and you see all sides of it.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Why is early reading such a passion of yours?
I just feel like reading is everything. It affects everything we do as human beings. For children, being able to read gives them confidence. And it's a confidence that we as adults don't even realize that they have gained or are lacking, if they have it or don't. But it's such a huge thing. I recently was working with a girl who with some pretty severe learning disabilities, a 15-year-old who was not able to read. And I had her reading within a few weeks. And this year, just a few weeks ago, she told me she was so excited to go back to school because she knew that her friends would not make fun of her because of not being able to read. And I told her grandmother, I said, you have to understand, she has spent about 8 years not knowing what everybody else around her knows how to do. And you can imagine the confidence that she was lacking because of not having that skill that affects everything else, right? So really getting a strong trajectory early in life is so huge for these kids. It builds their confidence. And of course, we know that if kids can read well, and as they grow up, it helps them to avoid things later in life like homelessness and job insecurity and food insecurity, right? These are all affected by a person's education. So I am so passionate about reading because it's just so important and because it's fun. I love to read. I love good literature. I love reading.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. That's incredible. And I mean, I have to agree, reading is a huge part of my life, and I I don't know what I would do without it.
Yeah, it's so part of everything we do that we almost don't even realize how critical it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it affects everything.
Mhm.
Um, can you tell us a little bit about why it's important to teach children these reading skills before they go into kindergarten?
Yeah, so children, and this is kind of alluding to some things I've already said, but children are so smart. They can take in information. They're little sponges, right? And they are capable of that. So making sure that they can read early on kind of nails that confidence down for them, right? And once they have that, then they can learn anything else. Okay. So, and the other thing is if a child reaches second grade and can't read still, like if they're at the end of second grade and can't read, they are really at risk for never learning to read. And that is because the teachers at that point, third grade and on, teachers are not working on how to read anymore, right? They're teaching the children different things that require the children to already know how to read. Okay. So once a child hits about end of second grade, third grade, they're at risk for never learning to read. So I feel like it's so important to just hit that skill so early, when they're ready for it, of course, but early on, and make sure that we really nail that down because it affects everything else.
And what can childcare providers or parents do to make a difference during these early years?
Well, that's a great question, and the adults in a child's life are critical. We know that, right? So I would say, what can they do? Well, the first thing, of course, is read aloud, right? The more you read to a child, the more they're going to gain a what I call the why behind learning to read. They'll want to learn to read, right? When they read great stories and they see great pictures. This is so important. If a child is never read to, why would they ever want to learn to read? Similarly, if you never introduce a child to basketball, well, then they're never going to grow up to be a basketball player, right? So you have to introduce that really early. So I would say a lot of read aloud and making sure that the read aloud you do is fun. Do the voices and build a fort and sit underneath the fort and read together. Make reading a normal part of your life, an everyday part of your life, and a fun part of your life. Now, obviously we want to be able to do that, but that only gives the child the why behind the reading. It doesn't give them the how, right? And so that's where SkyRocket Reading comes in, because we can train the adults in their life how to teach the child to read, which is so important. And a lot of adults, they don't really know how to teach kids to read. In fact, I'd say most adults don't. And they do their best, of course, we all do our best, but a lot of times what ends up happening is we pull out these, reading rules from when we were a kid and we try to help the child apply them, but we don't necessarily give it to them in a sequence that actually makes sense. And so what ends up happening is we end up confusing the child. And so then you have to go back and undo all of the, unconfuse the child, which is also hard to do. So at SkyRocket, we've really perfected that sequence so that we can teach adults how to teach the child to read in exactly the right sequence the child has to go in, and how to help them have quick recall on each step before you add the next layer. Okay, so we've perfected that sequence and the kind of the marks of how to know when it's time to add a skill layer on, so that we don't confuse the child. So anyway, those are some things parents can do. And
Those are great tips. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I love that we're having this conversation because it's so important, and I hope that everybody is watching is going to share with their network and their friends and family as well, because not just educators, like you said, parents and guardians as well. And these are not skills that come naturally to everybody. And I don't know about you. I know I'm an avid reader, but I do not remember learning to read or what that experience was like as a child. It's just been a part of my life for so long that I don't remember those steps. So I don't know that I necessarily would have those skills to be able to teach someone as well. So that's what makes me really excited about this.
yeah.
What makes SkyRocket Reading different from other reading programs?
So, what I love about our curriculum is that it is so clear and it's very exact. Even the children who are learning the SkyRocket reading system, they can tell you exactly where they are in the program. And we actually, even in our curriculum, we teach adults how to help kids teach other kids within the lessons and stuff. So that, because when you teach something, you know it if you can
Mhm.
teach it, right? So we even have the kids participate in the teaching, but they can because we know we've taught them exactly where they are in the system. So, I'll give you a quick little intro. Level 1 in SkyRocket Reading is teaching the names of the letters, right? Really basic, right? Level 2 is teaching the sounds of the consonants, not the vowels yet, just the consonants. And we talk about how the consonants, we can trust them. They generally make one sound each, but the vowels are very tricky. The vowels are trying to trick the children. And so in level 3, when we introduce vowels, we introduce our unique SkyRocket Reading code, our launch code, we call it. And it is so much fun. It is so fun to go from level 2 to level 3. We can take a child who knows their consonant sounds and within 40 minutes have them reading hundreds of words. That is how effective our system is. And I've never seen another program that can say that in 40 minutes we can go from consonant sounds only to reading hundreds of words. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would parents, caregivers, guardians, or providers, anyone need special training or credentials to be able to use the SkyRocket reading program?
No, in fact, that's one of the things that I think sometimes, I love our teachers, right? We need our teachers so badly, right? We need great teachers. But sometimes we somehow think that only teachers can teach children, and that's just not true. Um, our SkyRocket reading curriculum shows that you do not have to have a teaching credential to be able to teach a child to read successfully. So, no, there's no credential needed. Just a willingness to really impact a student's life, a willingness to learn how to do it. And yeah, if you need a laptop or something where you can watch the online modules.
Mhm.
And then I have twice a week coaching calls where anyone who's signed up for the course can call in and talk to me personally and ask, hey, my child's struggling with this. How do I help them with this part? If they're having any hard time or if they're learning the modules and they just have a question, right? So that way, I want it to be where I can really help them personally, right? Because every child, I like to say, children are not robots, right? Every child, of course, there are patterns, in child development and things like that, but they're not robots. There are things that each child maybe has a little bit of a different way of learning or things like that. So, so I'm there to help every step along the way, and you don't have to have a credential to learn how to do it.
Great, thank you. I know you just shared a really good example of what to expect from a lesson, but can you kind of dive a little deeper, walk us through what a typical lesson might look like?
Yeah, in fact, I will share what a lesson would look like for the adults who are learning it, and
Okay.
then I'll share what a lesson would look like for the child when that adult is teaching the child. Okay, so for the adults who are in the SkyRocket reading training, we have an online course, and our beginning reading teacher training course has 6 modules. Okay, now each module has 2 main sections. The first section of the module will kind of give the parent or the childcare provider, the adult, it'll teach them what needs to be taught at that level and why we teach that thing at that level. Okay, so it's kind of like, the the logic and all of that behind it. But then the second part of the module it's a whole section of how to teach that to the children. And so that part has, games and activities that you do with the children. I am not a fan of having children sit a long time at a table when they're that little, if they're, like 3, 4, 5 years old. So we get them up using like a whiteboard and games where they're moving around. So yeah, that's what the modules look like for the adults, right? The main section, or the first section, where we teach the adult the logic behind the level, and then the second part where they learn the games and how to do it. So that's what it looks like for the adults. Now, when the adult starts teaching the child, right, that will be basically three main sections. We start with a quick review where every time we come together with a child, we kind of review what we learned last time. And I teach you in the modules how to do that effectively. So that's part of, helping it stick in their head, right? Is that quick review every time. Then we get to the learning activities, the games and the book, reading the books and things like that. And our books we have a whole series, like 170 books, and every book goes with the level the child is on. So we know that the child can be 100% successful at reading that story, which helps build that confidence that I was talking about, right? So
Yeah.
first part, quick review. Second part, learning activities, including the books. And then the third part, we work on mastering that level, that skill, right? So that we know that we've got it before we add a skill layer onto them. And, because like I said before, we don't want to confuse them. So those are what the lessons look like for the adults and for the kids.
Sounds like so much fun. Thank you. Do you have a story that you can share with us of a provider or a parent who's had success using SkyRocket Reading?
Yes. So right now here in California, I am working with a group of childcare providers, and I am training them how to teach their students to read. And it's been so much fun. Oh my gosh, these women that I'm working with most of them are Latinas. They are first language Spanish speakers. And so when they started the program with me, they were kind of nervous. They're like, I don't know if I can, how can I, they'd say, how can I do this if English isn't even my first language, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, don't worry, you can do it, right? You can do it. We'll go one step at a time. And so we started, and they were nervous, but now they're doing it. They are doing it. They have students who are entering kindergarten right now, and these students are beginning readers. Now, they don't know how to read everything yet, of course, right? Because they're still very young, and we want to make everything age appropriate as far as not overwhelming the child. But they are beginning readers, and it's really fun. Last week, I was talking to one of these providers, and she said that her student came back in the afternoon after going to kindergarten in the morning. And she came back in the afternoon to the daycare, and she was telling her, childcare provider that she knows more than the kids in her class. And she was very proud of herself. And, of course, we're not trying to, make children arrogant. That's not, that's not what we're going for. But she really talked about that confidence. She said, I saw this confidence in this little girl because she was so excited. She knew she was smart. Right.
Yeah.
So,
And she
yeah.
can help her friends.
Yes, and for a teacher in a classroom, when you have a child or two that really they do get it, they know how to read, they really help bring up the rest of the class. So,
Mhm.
not only is that child knowing the skill of reading, but their confidence is also boosted, and then they're also learning some leadership skills of how to help the students around them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a success story that I'm so happy about. These wonderful providers here that are that didn't think that maybe they could do it, and they have, and they are.
That's amazing. And these are in-home childcare providers, you said?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. That's so great. You're building their confidence and skills as well.
Yes, and in fact, I sent you a video, and we can link it
Yeah.
after the episode. But one of the gals, she talks, and she said, one of the children that she was teaching, they would read a word and they'd say, did I get it right? And she said, yes, you did it. And she's like, really? I did it? And then the childcare provider said, yes, and I did it too. I taught them how to read. It was so cute. She's just, it's so fun. It's so fun to watch, people learn how to do this and realize, wow, I really can do this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And that I kind of ties into the next question is how has learning to teach reading in their childcare programs affected their teaching and their relationship with their child?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of wonderful technology apps out there, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, we like to use apps and technology to kind of maybe save ourselves a headache or something instead of working with a child. But the truth is, learning to read is such a critical skill. And when you delegate that teaching reading to a computer, to an app, you are missing a huge relationship building opportunity with a child and a confidence building opportunity with a child. So these childcare providers who are teaching the children directly how to read, they are building something in these children that you cannot possibly give a child through a computer or through an app or through AI, right? So this is so important. Also, these providers, they can now use this as a marketing tool, if you will, for getting more students in their daycares, right? They can say to the families, I will teach your child to read. And parents are like, yes, sign me up for that, right? They want that. They want their kids to read. And so that's a way that they can, elevate their own business, help a child impact their life forever. Some people may even decide to start focusing on doing small group instruction for 6 children at a time as like an additional part or an additional revenue source for their childcare program. In fact, when I lived in Colorado, I did that exact thing. I had small groups of children coming to my program, and I would teach small groups at a time in the afternoons, and it was amazing.
Yeah. It's really a great tool to add to their toolbox for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So for our viewers or someone listening, what would be the first step if they wanted to get started?
Yeah, so the first step is to just learn about it. You can go to my website, which is www.skyrocketreading.com. Make sure you put the sky in there, okay? SkyRocketReading.com. And we have some freebies on there that you can do, grab right away. So you can come to our webinar. Our webinar, we try to do it once a week, and it is how to teach a child to read in 7 steps. And in that, we give a kind of a high level view of our framework of our curriculum. It's not all the details. There's not time in that, webinar to teach all the little things that just make such a huge difference, but it'll give you a high level overview. Also on the webinar, or excuse me, on the website, you can sign up for our free newsletter. The newsletter is called Wednesdays with Wendy, which is kind of funny because it's kind of like What's Up Wednesdays. But in that newsletter, every week I send out, free tips for teaching children to read. So that's something that people can do for free, and it's really easy. And then also on our website, we have another little freebie. It is some penmanship strips that you can print out and use to teach children penmanship. I know a lot of times these days, children are not learning penmanship as much in schools, but it is critical for the cognitive development, and it works so well while you're teaching a child to read. All of that together helps really solidify it in their little brains. So those are some free things that you can do on the website. If you want to take the course and really delve in and learn how to teach kids to read, you're going to want to go to the webinar or at least sign up for it, get the replay link, and then there will be a purchase page that comes up, and you can just jump right in there. You can purchase the course and then get started. And as soon as you purchase it, you have access online to the course. And then we send you links to our twice a week calls with me for, kind of small group or one-on-one coaching.
Great, thank you. I did include your website link in the show notes of the video. Also in the comment section. I'm getting an error message with the comment posting on Facebook, but as soon as it's on YouTube, and as soon as our live is done here, I'll make sure that the links are all included there as well. So it's just really easy for our viewers to click through. And yeah, that's exciting. Wednesdays with Wendy on What's Up Wednesday. I love it.
Wednesday's a good day. And also for your listeners, and this will be in the show notes, right? There will have a 15% discount code for your listeners as a thank you for having me on the podcast. So
thank you so much, Wendy. We really appreciate that. What is one thing that you want every listener to remember after hearing and watching this episode?
Yeah, well, in the United States, we have only 31% of our 4th graders meeting or exceeding proficient level in reading. So with that statistic, 31% only, it really is important that every adult know how to teach children to read, right? We all have children in our lives somewhere, whether it's grandchildren, children, nieces and nephews, neighbors, right? We have got to start making a difference and, stop relying on the school system to do all of it, right? We can be there to support. And this method makes it so that you'll know how to do it. You'll know exactly how to do it. And I really believe that any adult who is willing to put in the time and learn can teach a child to read and can build that relationship that I was talking about. It's so important. So I would just say the one thing I want you to know is you can do it. I'm here to help you, and you can do it. You can teach a child to read.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and gosh, those numbers are scary. So it's amazing that there are tools and lots of help and support out there to be able to help children and support them in those early years and in their learning. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us today.
You're so welcome, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much for everyone who's watching. If you have any questions, you can always pop into the comments even after we're live here and reach out and contact us. We've got lots of links in the description of the video, and so you can click through there to learn more or get in touch. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.